I think we can start with our program. If I get the permission from our coordinator.
Please, madam, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, a very good morning from India to all. I, Dr. Amrita Banerjee, Assistant Professor from the Department of Political Science, Bidhan Chandra College, take this opportunity to welcome our Honorable Respected Principal Sir, Dr. Falguni Mukhopadhyay, TAC Committee Convener, Dr. Gautam Mukherjee, our IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Shomin Chakraborty, Organizing Committee Coordinator, Dr. Amit Banerjee, our Honorable Respected Guest of Honor, Dr. Arura Martin Ma'am, who is an Senior Advisor with the Romanian Government and Parliament, Dr. Sujit Datta from University of Chittagong, Bangladesh, and Dr. Sneha from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India. All the faculty members from our institution, as well as from different parts of the world, beloved students, ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome to everyone in our one-day international webinar on gender sensitization, prospects and challenges, which is being initiated by Internal Quality Assurance
Hello, Amrita. Hello.
Good morning.
I think we lost Amrita right there somewhere.
Amit, what happened?
Right, so Amrita has some network problem. It's raining, I think, out there. So I spoke with her. She will be joining in 2 minutes' time.
Okay.
Amrita, hello.
I think I'm audible now.
Yes, please. Please continue.
I'm so sorry because due to network problem, the connection got cut. So I'm going to start afresh. Well, a very good morning from India to all. Now, I would like to, I was actually talking about the kind of a theme on which basis, this sensitization, gender sensitization prospects and challenges this webinar is all about. Now, it's about the sexual differences, which basically rest on a kind of a system of living and working, which we have built over a period of, the time, and which encompass the power relations. Now, although there have been a kind of a notable gains for women globally in the last few decades, and it has encompassed a kind of a power relations. Now, although there have been notable gains for women globally in the last few decades regarding the gender inequality, the gender-based inequality, which continue to impinge upon the girls and the women's ability to realize their rights and their full potentials as as a citizens or as equal partners. In fact, for every right that has been established, now there are millions of women who do not enjoy it. So we must not forget that gender is one of the component of the human rights, and so the gender-based abuses are a kind of a human rights abuses. So they generally affect our security, and the gender sensitization is an aspect of moving towards gender equality. So keeping all such things and all these things in mind, the IQAC Bidhan Chandra College Asansol has arranged this one-day international webinar on gender sensitization, prospects and challenges. Now, without much delay, I would like to take the opportunity to invite our respected NAC committee convener, Dr. Gautam Mukherjee, sir, of Bidhan Chandra College Asansol, to deliver the inaugural speech. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. On behalf of the Bidhan Chandra College Asansol, I first express my regards to the eminent speakers first, and then the IQAC for holding this webinar. We have three eminent speakers today: Dr. Arura Martin, Dr. Sujit Datta, Dr. Sneha. Dr. Martin is a senior advisor of the Romanian Government and Parliament, National Agency for Equal Opportunities, and Vice President, International Institute of Human Security. Dr. Datta is an associate professor, Department of International Relations, University of Chittagong, Bangladesh, and Dr. Sneha is an assistant professor, Center of the Canadian, US, and Latin American Studies in the School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. I thank you all for accepting our invitation and presenting in this webinar. The international webinar today is on gender sensitization, its prospects and challenges. It's an immensely important area. We all are waiting for a rich and vibrant discussion. The interactive session, I think, will benefit mostly the students. Finally, thanks again to everyone whose views and opinions made this conference possible and successful.
Thank you very much, sir, for your good wishes. Now, I would like to take the opportunity to start our lecture session and call upon our first speaker of the day, Dr. Sneha. Now, Dr. Sneha is currently working as an assistant professor, Center for Canadian Study, US and Latin America, School of International Relations, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India. Now, very recently, she was a course coordinator also of UGC, Human Resource Development, which is known as HRDC, Jawaharlal Nehru University. And her specialization is on international relations, Southeast Asia, but her area of research interest also lies in the Canadian studies, electoral reforms, ethnic and federal politics and diasporic studies. And with that, she has also got interest for gender in international relations. For her research purpose, she had to visit abroad several times, and she has published several research, book chapters, journal articles, national and in international repute. Now, before joining JNU, she was also teaching in a Department of Political Science which was under Delhi College of Arts and Commerce under Delhi University for almost 5 years. Now I would request Dr. Sneha to deliver her lecture, and the topic on which she is going to focus basically is gender sensitization and the importance of women empowerment, issues and prospects. Over to you, Dr. Sneha.
Thank you, Dr. Amrita, for such a warm welcome. And I thank Professor Gautam Mukherjee, the NAC convener, for organizing such an important topic, because here the students need to understand the importance of gender sensitization. And obviously, I also take a pleasure of welcoming my esteemed speakers, Dr. Arura Martin and Dr. Sujit Datta ji. Without a delay, I think I should start with my presentation. I would like to request Dr. Amit, once I'll ask you to change the slides, please help me out with that, right?
Perfect, madam. Please carry on.
So today, it is very important to understand this topic, because what exactly is gender sensitization and how it is importance. It has an importance for women empowerment. So I really welcome all the participants, and we'll have a kind of discussion basically to understand what exactly the issues and prospects are. So we'll try today. We'll try to explore the definitions of gender and investigate the kind of interface between the concept of gender and sex. The need for gender awareness actually will try to give a kind of distinction between the sex and gender while defining other gender related terminology in the coming discussion. So we will try to reflect on the ways in which the gender and the other gender related terms are socially constructed, and the important role that education can play in the sensitizing the people to change their mindset. So in order to have a better understanding of the concepts of equality and non-discrimination, the two fundamental aspects of our constitution, there is a need to understand the basic concepts like difference between sex and gender roles, gender stereotypes, gender-based division of labor, gender discrimination, gender-based violence, and so on and so forth. So the concepts are actually very necessary to understand, because the gender question is not just about the women and men and how they interact, but actually the understanding that these concepts would help in sensitizing people about curbing the gender bias prevailing in the society, and would also help in empowering the girls and women to achieve their goals. So a kind of proper understanding of gender sensitization will actually bring about an attitudinal changes towards this gender-based violence. So can we have a next slide, please? So if we see, what exactly the concept of gender means. So gender is a multifaceted reality that is culturally constructed and socially determined by the society. And if we say in other words, gender portrays culturally and socially constructed roles, responsibilities, privileges, relations, and expectations of women and men. Because these are socially constructed, they can, change over time and differ from one place to another. And gender actually refers to a kind of behavioral differences between males and females that actually are culturally based, or it can be socially learned. So sometimes, if we try to define gender, if we see the definition of, Anne Oakley, the gender actually is a matter of a culture. We need to understand, and it refers to a kind of societal classification in masculine and feminine. So in other words, Gender refers to a specific cultural meaning system that attaches to being a male or a female. And gender is basically sexualized identity of individuals in relation to the customs, traditions, ways of life, and so on and so forth. So it's the social and cultural construction of roles, tasks, attitudes, values, and quality of males and females, as well as the, I mean, and tries to, I mean, the kind of formation of gender is actually differs from one culture to another. And it's basically comes up to be a cultural scientific aspect. So the community or society as a whole, I mean, contributes to the definition of gender, and often our society influences us about the ways in which we expect males and females to behave and live in a certain way. So sometimes gender is referred, I mean, mistakenly only to women, although it deals with the distinctive social construction of both men and women. So the basic difference between men and women is the principle of biological reproduction, in which this biological difference overshadows the other qualitative variations and achievements. So the concept of gender was introduced in like early 1970s to distinguish the acquisition of the social attributes from the biological ones, and for which the sex was reserved. So gender is now an inclusive term that ultimately has, I mean, come to include even biology. So can we have the next slide, please? So if we try to see the difference between gender and sex, I mean, it gives us an understanding, or a kind of reflection on the understanding of sex and gender, and basically it tries to create a kind of, or clarify a kind of differences between sex and gender for like the participants, I mean, the girls and the boys. So I mean, it also helps to, I mean, to understand the concept of gender as a whole, and gives the students or the participants to understand the definite issue, what's going on. So if we say sex in general, so I mean, it refers to a biological differences between males and females, and basically the genetic differences, and hence and is a kind of I mean anatomy of, or a kind of physiological differences. So however, I mean, these I mean, there are another category which is called kind of intersex. So generally this term is used for a variety of conditions in which people is born with a kind of reproductive or sexual anatomy that doesn't seem to fit the typical definition of females or male. For example, a person might be born appearing to be female on the outside, but having mostly male type anatomy on the inside. I mean, that's how the thing is. So now if we try to define gender, so if we say a kind of working definition of gender, so people are born female or male, but they learn to be girls and boys who grow into women and men. So they are taught what the appropriate behavior and attitudes, role and activities are for them, and then I mean, how they should relate to other people. So this learned behavior is what makes up gender identity, and like determines the gender roles. So gender refers to the learned roles, norms, and expectations on the basis of one's sex. So it is a kind of socio-cultural definition of a boy and a girl, or of a man or a woman. So not only their responsibilities are set by the society, but also the norms, values, dress codes, attitudes, opportunities, rights, mobility, freedom of expression, priorities, and even dreams are determined. So I mean, so if we say, I mean, so social, I mean, gender is a kind of social construct, whereas sex is the biological makeup of male or and female. And sex is what we are born with, and it does not change over time and not differs from place to place. But sex is the biological difference between men and women. So now, I mean, if we see the difference, so gender is learned and performed, and it involves the myriad of often normative meanings given to sexual difference by various cultures. And basically, the feminist perspective says one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. So gender actually differences I mean, it makes a kind of difference in the society and make men superior, though their role is like a breadwinner. So I mean, we'll see in the another context how things or the stereotype is changing. So there are many I mean, American sociologists who have worked on gender roles, and then they were the one who claimed that the complementary gender roles between the men and women promote the social integration of families and society as a whole. So if we say, in other words, gender forms a complementary sets of roles that bond women and men into family units for carrying out various important tasks. And women take primarily duty for managing the family and raising children, whereas men join the family to the outside world through their participation in the labor force. So the distinctive socialization teaches both men and women about their suitable gender identity and skills. Boys I mean, were taught to involve in the labor forces and also to be rational, self-assured and competitive. On the other hand, girls were taught to be absorbed in the process of child rearing, domestic chores, being sensitive. And this processes of socialization facilitate children to learn and internalize the norms and values of family, community, and society, and learn to perform their respective roles. So both boys and girls were nurtured to become men and women through socialization in child rearing, family beliefs, education, various jobs or service, and cultural practices. So gender role actually deals with the different responsibilities and expectations that society defines and allocates to men and women. So these are not necessarily determined by the biological makeup, and they therefore can change with the time in different situations. So gender actually involves the metrics of relationship between men and women, which can be changed from patriarchal to an egalitarian one. And therefore, I mean, gender is a kind of collective and societal formation which is often I mean, stereotyped and can be altered, while sex is perceived as unchangeable and as it is a natural institution in the past. But as we have come through the concept of transgender, I mean, an individual who is often assigned a sex at birth, but who considers that he or she belong to the opposite sex of his or her natural given sexual characteristics, which is an imperfect description of himself or herself. So that is how, with the medical advancement today, innovation and scientific technologies revolution, uh, sex can be altered in our contemporary society. So the subject of these I mean, these sex change or sex transplant is a kind of sensational issue in this public discourse in India today, basically. So I mean, if we see some of the things which comes in our mind, I mean, please think over these things. Like, most drivers in India are men. Women give birth to babies. Caring and nurturing of babies is the responsibility of women. Only women can breastfeed babies. Men has mustache. Women cannot carry heavy loads. Women are scared of working outside their homes at night. And women are emotional, men are rational. So these all kind of social norms which you see. And like most scientists are men, and cooking comes naturally to women. So that's we need to think on those aspects. So can we have the next slides? So here the key elements to remember is, like, gender and sex are two different concepts with different meanings. So and sex is something biologically determined, innate, unchangeable, and unless some surgical intervention is done, and universal. And gender is a social construct, learned, dynamic and changeable, and differs within and between the cultures. So can we have the next slide, please? So now comes the social construction of gender. Here we need to understand the differential behavior norms which are ascribed to boys or men or girls or women, and which actually this and this, we'll try to find out the sources that influence and reinforce these behaviors, and also the consequences of different behavior of women, boys or men. So here, we are often told that boys and girls are different, and they play a different role in society and have learned different things at home and society, outside. So if we say that it comes very natural that a girl is the one who has long hair, but now as we see the present time, due to fashion, even the boy have the long hair. So we need to understand, even the who wears the jewelry, it's not the girl or the women. It's now is a kind of fashion statement for boys now. Those all kind of things which we used to think, and now things have come to a kind of different in a different approach. So here, we need to understand that today, as things are, those empowerment and sensitization processes going on. So girls are no less than boys in kind of any activity. Even girls can fly the kites, even then can climb the trees, and many of the things which were not thought as the normal norm for a girl. So here, uh, a girl's body does not touch, or does not teach one to do the household work or care for others. And it's not a boy's body which does not ensure that they will be fearless or intelligent and strong. So these qualities are learned and taught to us at different stages in our lives, within the family, as soon as we take the birth, and during the school, in the community participation, and so on. It's one's upbringing that determines how one grows, what one becomes, and like this gender inequalities are learned through education at various levels, including the family, school, religion, society, and like the wider community level. So can we have the next slide? So here we need to understand the concept of patriarchy and what it has to do with the gender equality. So patriarchy is a social system where men or boys are considered superior and more powerful than women or girls. So such thinking permeates through all institutions in our society, whether it's family, community, culture, economy. So men are seen as the heads of households, and even though there are many families headed by women, including single women, uh, I mean, this patriarchy is a kind of social construction, and the values and implication based on these biological differences between the men and women are a result of culture. So patriarchy is defined as the control of the labor and these reproductive power and sexuality of women for the benefit of men. And although this patriarchy is a structure that operates through various institutions of society, and patriarchy is a consequence of and a kind of contribution to how gender has been employed to perpetuate and maintain the social systems. So it's a kind of social system that maintains and kind of gives a male dominant society where men benefit from the higher status and greater power in most aspects of life. So they are the ones who carry on the family name, inherit property, and take decisions. And patriarchy actually prescribes role to men and women. These roles are prescribed to say for it is not created there as like from the biology, but it has placed a kind of expectation that boys or men too, and limits their choices and expressions, and it has to, we need to understand this. Boys find it very hard to choose to be a dancer, like the Kathak uh, dancer Biju Maharaj, or the musicians or cooks or the tailors. So they get into, or they get pushed into being muscular or a macho man. A macho, that's what the concept comes. So even today in our society, there is a kind of son preference for the various reason, and the patriarchal mindset affects girls deeply in terms of how to dress, what to say, where to go, whom to meet, limiting their choices to great extent. So here, but things are changing, the society is changing, and women's are breaking the barriers, becoming scientists, fighter pilots, athletes, entrepreneurs, and quantum of directions of change in socio cultural political domain is, going on, but it's still rather slow, we would say. So here we need to understand what exactly is the key message. Patriarchy is made up of structures or institutions that exclude women from the participation in, or contact with the spaces of the greatest power, economically, politically, culturally, and religiously. So here patriarchy is unjust social system that subordinates, discriminates, or is oppressive to women. So here, can we have the next slide, please? So the gender roles, what exactly, we need to understand how gender roles lead to gender division of labor, and how this gender discrimination based on the stereotyping of male and female qualities, and the kind of social pressure and benefits and cost of men and women to like conform to this dominant gender roles. So gender roles are set of behavior, kind of responsibilities attributed to women and men that the culture defines as appropriate for men and women. So thus these the gender role include the behavior and choices that are associated with being male or female. So our cultural the beliefs reinforce that what we see to be the acceptable behavior of male or females, this includes what we do, or what we like, or how we behave. So the various socializing agents, like the parents, the teachers, the peers, the religious leaders, and the media, and these basically the gender roles are reinforced at the various level of society, imbibing the norms and the values through the socialization process. So it is very deeply rooted, and gender roles can be changed over time, since the social values and norms are not static. So here, I mean, we, that's what we need to understand, that the differences do exist, but that there are biological rooted and culturally expansion of these things, and gender roles are not static, and identify with like culture, society, and historical period. So like if we try to understand or identify some articles, or like the activities, if we say car keys, who generally keeps the car keys, that's one thing. Like if we say some of the activities, cooking, so it automatically comes for the female or the girls. They are from the day one told that you need to learn cooking, you need to have a good cooking skill. So that those kind of things. So now, can we have the next slide? So some of the key concepts which are associated with gender are the gender ideology, which is basically the ideology which is that set of idea or beliefs which seek to articulate the basic values of group of people, what they cherish for themselves and for others, and to the distribution of the power in society. So an ideology is not a system theory, a kind of systematic theory, although it's a kind of properties, and it often strives to be a kind of theory, but it has, it may not have succeeded in articulating the basic values of distribution of power. Now comes the social, the gender stratification, which actually cuts across all aspects of social life, and then cuts across all social classes, and refers to men and women unequal access to power, prestige, and property on the basis of their sex. To be more precise, through this process of socialization, individual encompasses the gender into their personality or gender identities and gender roles. So that's That's how things are. Now the gender identity. I mean, here it itself defined as in the individual perception of oneself as male or female or third gender, and it deals with how society views you. So this concept is, I mean, closely related to the gender role that reflects into the gender identity. Now, I mean, the gender, what exactly is the gender gap? So these unfair differences in the situation or access to the service of men and women, and this may result from religious prejudice, traditional practices, social assumption, myths and taboos among them. So can we have the next slide? So if we talk of gender stereotype, which our next speaker is going to talk in detail, so we need to identify the characteristics which ascribe to either boys or girls, and the idea of stereotype or consider, I mean, it actually considers the stereotypes as whether it's fair or unfair. So here we need to understand, I mean, how it feels to not to conform to socially defined gender norms. If we say, for example, if we say that a girl is born, the room is painted pink. The boy is born, the room is painted blue. The girl is born, the toy she gets, the first toy is the doll, and the boy gets the car. So this kind of stereotype. So there's a need to, I mean, change this particular mindset, and then children face a great deal of pressure to be popular, and they are conformed to their peer group. So, I mean, here we need to understand that the male stereotype is described through three P's. The first is provider, the second is the protector, and third is the procreator. And the females basically are the basic stereotypes is belonging to the world of motherhood and wifehood, nurture the family, I mean, and be sympathetic, caring, loving, compassionate, and those kind of things. So here we need to understand that these gender stereotypes are harmful because they take a kind of simple idea and try to say it works for everyone in the group. So here gender stereotypes sometimes make people stop doing another activity they like or they really want to do. So they make it harder for people to be themselves. Like if you want to do something which is not a set norms, so your friends will start making fun of you. I mean, if a boy wears a pink shirt, their peer group, the friend circle starts, I mean, kind of like creating a situation in which he feels uncomfortable. So here, basically, we see in India, our culture upholds that. I mean, the respectable women are sensitive, caring, dresses decently, speak softly, which are considered as the core values to make women more feminine. On the other hand, power and authority are traits commonly held by Indian men. The men are perceived to dominate the activities related to economies, and the economy mode largely determines the social position of men and women, wherein the men are the center of the family and society, where women are the part of property of men. So such type of gender stereotype creates a kind of negative impact on women's life, and something which is not very much appreciated. So now, can we have the next slide, please? So now the gender based division of labor. So what exactly is gender based division of labor? So the process whereby, I mean, the productive tasks are separated on the basis of one's gender is called gender division labor. So it results from the social differentiation introduced by the relation between men and women that attributed activities and roles according to person's sex. So it varies from culture to culture. Both men and women have multiple work role, and these include production, reproduction, essential household, and community services, and community management, and like political activities. So if we try to see differentiate, the productive work is the work that has, I mean, great value because development is also measured in terms of economic growth. And often women's work is seen as reproductive work, as the monetary returns of this are collected by the men of the family. So here, I mean, if we say what exactly reproductive work is, so it not only includes giving birth to babies, but also taking care of baby by feeding, clothing, etc., and taking care of the needs and demand of the extended family, which apparently has no income returns. So this type of work is usually not recognized, nor is it is accounted for the gross national product, if we say as a whole. So now the unpaid care work, so it also includes the production of goods and services in the household or community that are not sold on the market, like the unpaid care work in the household includes the domestic work, the cooking, cleaning, washing, water, fuel collection, and so on and so forth. So what exactly the key message here is, so I mean, the institutional norms, rules, practices that govern the allocation of tasks between women and men, and girls and boys constitute the gender division of labor, which is seen as variable over time and space, and constantly under negotiation. So can we have the next slide, please? So the gender division of labor is a kind of central feature of gender inequality, both in its economic aspects and in the social construction of gender identity. So there are cultural variation in the gender division of labor. So can we have the next slide, please? So here we need to understand the gender equality, and like it actually why there's a need to, I mean, to understand it. So to share the perception of gender equality, and like how that condition will be beneficial for both women and men, and we'll try to understand how this gender equality is a part and parcel of delivering our commitments to equal human rights for all. So and if we define it, so it does not mean that men and women become the same. It means that their access to opportunities and life changes it is neither dependent on or not constrained by their gender. So it is achieved when women and men enjoy the same rights and opportunities across all sectors of society, including economic participation and decision making. So India has signed on to the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, where this gender equality focuses on achieving the or empowering all the girls and women, and includes ending all forms of discrimination against the women and girls everywhere. So why exactly it is needed? So gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but it is necessarily foundation for a peaceful and sustainable world. Can we have the next slide? So for like building the prosperous society and economies, we need the gender equality by providing equal access to education, decent work, and representation in this political and economic decision making processes. And not only the women should have rights, but all of these would benefit humanity as large. So it not only make progress on these goal 5 of these sustainable development goals, but also makes gains on the elevation of poverty and promote sustainable economic growth. Can we have the next slide? So when we talk of gender equality in women, it is an intrinsic rather than an instrumental goal, and explicitly valued as an end in itself rather than an instrument for achieving other goals. So as important as education is, the translation of these goals into the target of eliminating the gender disparities at all levels of education, and it is like disappointingly narrow. And the indicators to monitor progress in achieving the goals are somewhat more wide ranging. So there's a closing the gender gap in education at all levels, and in increasing women's share of wage employment in the non-agricultural sector, and also increasing the proportion of seats held by women in national parliaments. Can we have the next slide, please? So these all inequalities have created a kind of violence against girls and women. So here we need to understand about the safety of all girls and women, and especially teach the boys about the positive role that they can, that can be played by boys and men. So here, when we say violence, violence means striking someone physically and causing injury, and it may involve verbal abuse or psychological stress without the actual hitting, which cause injury to mind and harm reputation. So this gender-based violence is a phenomenon deeply rooted in gender inequality, and continues to be one of the most notable human rights violation within all societies. So this gender-based violence is violence, directed against a person because of their gender. So both the women and men experience gender-based violence, but the majority of victims are women and girls. So these violence against women are terms that are often used interchangeably, as it has been widely acknowledged that most gender-based violence is inflicted on women and girls by men. So if we say, if we see particularly the laws which have come up, it's especially because, for the girls and women, like the domestic, either it is a domestic violence or either it is a for like the children, the POSCO. Many acts, like the recent one, the sexual harassment at workplace. So somewhat it's not actually in terms of gender, but as the gender-based violence is being seen more on women and girls. So that kind of setup is done. Can we have the next slide, please? So we can have different types of violence: the criminal violence, domestic violence. The criminal violence can be rape, murder, abduction, kidnapping, dowry death. Domestic violence is sexual abuse, maltreatment at home, and then the social violence is eve teasing, forcing wife or daughter-in-law for like female infanticide, and forcing widows to commit sati and those things. So here we need to understand the violence against girls and women is a global problem which occurs in all countries and societies, irrespective of differences in their economic, social, and political status. And violence does not comprise on random acts. It is kind of associated with the deep inequalities between women and men. So here, the girls and women experience different forms of violence through their life. It can be gender-based sex selection, neglect of girl child, forced early marriages, sexual abuse, dowry-related violence, trafficking, discrimination against widows, and sexual harassment in public places, streets, bus stops, schools, transport system, etc. And serious threat of cyber crimes, which is serious issues these days, and we need to focus on. Can we have the next slide, please? So here comes the understanding of gender sensitization. So gender sensitization is a process of changing the stereotype mindset of both men and women, and this mindset that strongly believes that men and women are unequal entities, and like hence they have to function in different socio-economic space. Gender sensitization increases the sensitivity of people at large towards the women and their problems, and then the process, it creates a class of responsive functionaries at different levels, from policy making to grassroots level, or who are convinced that any forms of gender bias is an obstacle on the way of attaining the equitable social and economic order, and therefore consider addressing gender related issues in their situation as a matter of priority. So gender is a social construct that denotes the social relation between men and women, leading to the differential position and importance in the society. So gender sensitization should seek to change not only the impression of men towards women, the way men think of and treat women, but also the attitude of women. Women think of men and of themselves and their behavior in this context. So that's all for today. I hope I have not exceeded my time limit. So thank you, Amrita. One thing which I need to announce: if any clarification or any doubts or any questions, I will provide my email ID and will try to answer through my email, because I will be leaving the conference right now. So thank you all. Thank you to the organizer. And
of course, there are so many questions in our chat box. Anyways,
okay.
first of all, I would like to thank you, Dr. Sneha, for your such a glorious, enlightening revelations to start with, and definitely for explaining the whole thing, in such a lucid way, and with so much of contemporary relevance, which you have articulated the concept of breaking the social construction or the stereotypes concept, with such an effective PowerPoint presentation. And personally, I feel, our student community, okay, who are the future researcher, they will definitely find a kind of a new seeds of research on the gender sensitization, I guess. But can I take up some of the questions from the chat box, if you permit? Definitely, because I know
Yes. You can just club the questions, then
yes,
I can.
that I can do, because there is one question from Shama Parvin. With that, she has asked two questions, which is somewhere rather related. One is, gender is a matter of individual comfort. What do you think? What do you consider? And gender equality, how it is important in education, in the education system. There is another question from Jasmine Khatun. There are still places where girls are considered weak. How can we change the people's mentality? There is.
Amrita, I'll do one thing. I can see the questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Let me go one by one. Okay.
Yes.
So Shama, although I mean, we can say it's a matter of individual comfort, but as we are a part of society, it becomes somewhat a kind of societal compulsion to deal with. So here that's why the concept of sensitization is important, where we need to understand men. The men should understand the women, and women, I mean, the understanding of men. So I think that's what here. The next is, there are still places where girls are considered weak. Yes, I mean, see, Jasmine, girls are not weak. That's what I said. We are born equal. When God is giving us life, we are getting all the I mean, the basic things to, I mean, with all the basic organs and understanding and everything. It's how uh, we are dealt with in the family, and the family is the first place where we are seen. You might have heard in your home that nahi nahi, tum ladki ho, tum bhari mat uthao. Even if your mother can say, or your grandmother can say, if you're running, if you're climbing the tree, are ladkiyan nahi chadti. I mean, the day you are like felt like you are weak, I mean, but your capabilities are as equal as men when you are born. So this is how I feel. I mean, so definitely people, I mean, the mentality will change with time, with education, with this sensitization. Like, we are conducting this international seminar. I mean, this is very important here. I mean, almost like 100 people are here and addressing this kind of issues. So at least we can start it from our home itself. Like, the day the maid doesn't turn up, आपके घर में किसी दिन आपके help नहीं आते, so let your brother or to clean the house, and then you may go and out and get the necessary items. I mean, let's change the role. I mean, it's not a set norms which we used to follow, and that's what we can see. Why is gender equality important? Gender equality is important in the education. Acha. It is important because here, let me tell you the fact. As I belong to the state of Bihar, there, when girl is born, if she wants to pursue higher studies, the only option she will get as medical, कि लड़की है तो doctor बनेगी, लड़का है तो engineer बनेगा. This kind of concept. So the equality. I mean, if girl wants to go for an engineering course, I mean, she should be allowed from day one. So it's kind of social construct. I mean, the family construct. So the family should come up with these things. So I think that's how it will play an important role in the education. Uh, what is the next? How it will promote the gender equality? The gender mainstreaming. Okay. And how can we change the mentality? See, we can. I mean, if we are performing our duties well, things will change. I mean, let's be very hopeful. And see, what I feel as a woman, because see, if I'm married to a person who who has a social construct of the same behavior, that you're a man, you don't need to do the household or those kind of things. But nowadays, please understand, the boys are also very sensitive. They know how, I mean, if their wives are working, or of they know how to like cooperate in the family, like the caring part of babies and other things can be taken care by men also at the same time. So the time is changing, so we need to be very be hopeful. And the first thing from where we can change is our family. So that's what I feel. How can women get the equal rights in society? Women's are getting rights. I mean, there are equal, but there's a need to claim it. That's what I can say, and make people understand that why there's a need of equal rights. So our constitution itself is a very big, document which one can quote and say that we are privileged to reach to a level of kind of like the kind of equity which we talk of. That we need for gender identity, analyze gender-based violence in different countries. I think few questions I can please email. I'll reply to the emails one by one. Okay. Because right now I just have to be to another place, right?
Sure.
Thank you, Amrita, and
Yes,
thank you to
thank
the
you.
organizing committee. This was well conducted, and I was. I'm going to miss other speakers as well, but I'll go through the recording. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sneha, for addressing all the answers for all the questions, basically. And once again, I would like to thank you on behalf of IQAC for, taking time out from the busy schedule and deliver the lecture for the sake of our student. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So now I would like to call upon our next honorable esteemed speaker, Dr. Arura Martin, ma'am. Now, here I would like to add upon that it's really of a great honor for all of us, to get ma'am amongst us, who is an anti-discrimination and gender expert on one hand, and she's a government official on the other. So as an academician also, and as a researcher also, she's a very famous personality. And now I would like to share a very brief bio of Dr. Arura Martin, ma'am. She's an anti-discrimination gender expert, as I have mentioned, and she's a senior advisor in international relations with the Romanian government and parliament on behalf of National Agency for Equal Opportunities, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, and National Council for combating the discrimination. Recently, she became the vice president of the International Institute for Human Security, which is headquartered in Chicago. And she has also served as an academic lecturer in good governance, non-discrimination, human security, human trafficking, gender studies, culture, violence, and conflict transformation at Wilmington College, Ohio, Russian Presidential Academy for National Economy and Public Administration, St. Petersburg University of Belgrade, Tomonosov Moscow State University, Khaza University, Baku, Faculty of Political Science, University of Bucharest, and the European Center for Security Studies at George C. Marshall in Germany. Her work at George C. Marshall produced a kind of a groundbreaking research on the shifting of the post-Cold War standards on the United Nations, nation states on addressing the security, R2P, conflict management, and its implication for the civil society. So she is a founding member also of a Euro-Atlantic Partnership for Sustainable Development. She's an editor-in-chief and founder for several political science and as well as the human rights magazines, as an US State Department alumna in sustaining civic participations in minority communities She develops a kind of a unit project in European Union, the Mobile Museum of Modern Day Slavery. She has also been awarded as the Women of the Year 2015 in Romania for defending and promoting the women's right. So Women of Excellence for International Discriminations of Feminist Political Culture by the International Academy, Mihai, MNSQ 2018, and very recently, Women of the Decade in Security and Conflict Transformation, that is in 2019, in the frame of the annual Women Economic Forum. So she has published a kind of Italian language for the political science and women identity representation in the Romanian culture. So now I would request ma'am to deliver her lecture on the topic, challenging gender stereotype. Over to you, Dr. Aurora Martin, ma'am.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations for your idea to organize such an interesting seminar, such an interesting meeting. I'm very happy to see a big interest, so many participants. Every time when I am invited to talk in a conference in India, it's happening that there are many participants. So I'm very satisfied that gender topics are raising interest in India. I was in India, in New Delhi, for the Women Economic Forum, organized by All Ladies League under the patronage of Miss Harbin Arora. Harbin Arora is one of the most influential people of the in the world. She was in this top in 2018 when I was there. So I'm very glad to be here with you, and grateful to Miss Amrita for organizing this seminar. Today I would like to talk a little bit about stereotypes, because stereotypes are defining us, are defining our activities, our lives. I will try to not repeat ideas from the previous presentation. We didn't talk before. Now I shall try to share the screen. Let me try. Where is I think it's okay. Yes, can you see? Is this visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We have some heroes on the screen, some heroes of our childhood. I think there are heroes, universal heroes. We all read, we all listen the stories, fairy tales, and we all watch cartoons. So our heroes are girls, boys, men, women. In general, heroes are men. Let's see why this is happening. Before starting, let's try to define some concept. Let me see if I can go forward. No. You have the second slide, yes? Could you confirm if there is a second slide with equal
Yes,
opportunity?
there is a second slide. Equal
Okay.
opportunities, equal rights.
Okay, before starting, so let's try to define equal rights and equal opportunities. What does it mean, equality in rights? The aim is to ensure the exercise of equal rights for all. We talk about respecting equal rights in each democracy. Equal opportunities. For equal opportunities, the aim is to ensure equal opportunity at the beginning of the exercise of the right. We have also the concept of equal treatment. Equal treatment, the purpose is to evaluate the person according to his talent and his or her talent and ability. You in this picture, you have some animals, and they are required to jump in the tree. They all have the same duties. They have the same chance to jump in the tree. But look at them; they have different abilities, so they will not have the same result. The purpose is to evaluate the person according to his or her talent and ability, right? I spoke about another concept, equality in result, which is a statement of equality at the point of arrival. Here, there is another well-known image defining equality and equity. You see the first three, in the first picture, the three boys, they have the same start. They have equality, they have equal treatment. But the result is different because only the biggest, they can see, they can watch the football match. In the second image, there is equity. There is about how to think about each ability, about what is equality for each person. It's when probably you know the concept of positive measures. Here is an example of positive measure. We try to add those people who have no chance to reach equality. Why is there a need of equal opportunities? Let's go forward. Look, difference between men and women in business life. They have the same start, right? But what about the finish? What about the result? Do they have the same condition for having a good arrival? Equal treatment of women and men for all positions and dignities is not all the time supported. Treating two people equally does not mean treating them the same. So equal opportunities is about fair treatment. Ensuring equal opportunities means taking into account the specific context of each situation and allowing each person to use their full potential. Defining concepts specific to the area of interest, we can talk about sex and gender. The previous speaker already defined these concepts. It's clear that sex is about biology about chromosomes, about sex organs, about hormones, about male, female. Gender is about, it's a social construct, it's about enacting roles and behaviors. It's about men, women, the others. So it's not about male and female, it's about men and women. It's about masculine and feminine. So I think it's clear this difference. The field of equal opportunities for women and men covers a wide range of topics. Gender non-discrimination, equal treatment for women and men outside the labor market, equal access to employment and vocational training, access to employment, to promotion, the principle of equal pay, self-employment, including work in agriculture, women and science, social protection, parental leave, leave associated with family problems, protection of pregnant women, women who have recently given birth and breastfeeding women, childcare service, occupational social assistance. All of this, we shall try to make an overview covering all these aspects. The different threats and behaviors that society expects from women and men are included to the gender area. Let's try to talk a little bit about gender roles. Where they are defined. One side, they are defined the family, and the other side, they are defined in the public space. What are the gender roles? They are cultural expectation, actually, regarding feminine and regarding masculine, regarding feminine as opposite to masculine. Their social and relational characteristic, whatever is considered as masculine, can become at a certain time feminine, and vice versa. Depends of the social perception, social framework. So there are some normative implications. Gender roles in society means how we are expected to act, to speak, to dress, to groom and conduct ourselves based upon our assigned sex. For example, girls and women, they are generally expected to dress typically feminine, in general, a skirt, a dress, and they are expected to be polite, to be soft, to be kind. What is the ideal man look like? Before talking about this, the gender roles could be, we can talk about gender roles in family, in workplace, in school, and mass media. These are the main places and the main area of impact, but also the area where we can change something. That's why I try to define gender roles in this framework. So what is the ideal man look like? Like in the first slides, or like this? This is a dream man for the previous century, right? What is about the ideal woman? How she look like? She's small, she's teeny, she's soft. These are expectations, right? This is exactly what traditional gender roles are. Rules and principles on how to do the things required to be the ideal man or the ideal woman. Now you might think that gender roles were created as a patriarchal tool to oppress and control the way a person thinks, acts, and feels. They are as old as civilization itself, being vital to human survival back then, when getting a meal for your family was not a short trip to the nearby story, but days of hike in the forest. Life back then was not as easy as it is today. And so gender roles were born. Men and women both recognized their strengths and weaknesses to help each other to survive. Each gender role was just as important as the next. So at that point, gender roles were not meant to create gender equality. Somewhere along the way, gender roles went from being a tool of cooperation from mutual benefits to a tool used to control and belittle. Today, gender roles are not so vital to survive anymore after the Industrial Revolution and after the development of medicine and technology. Just a moment to admit somebody, okay. Today, men and women can both live industrial lives. They can work, they can study, they can explore, and they could have everything they need. That's why now the focus is not to keep the gender roles, but to promote gender equality. But gender roles and stereotypes still exist in almost every aspect of society, impacting how people interact with one another and their place of work, their homes. Types of gender roles include male gender roles and female gender roles that are followed when it comes to child rearing and household chores. There isn't a single aspect of life where people can completely escape from gender roles and stereotypes. Men and women are both affected differently, and some traditional gender roles do cause problems in modern society, oppressing people and forcing them to act, think, and feel in a certain way. Let's take a gender role, a most common gender role, cooking. A woman, in general, a woman is considered to be in the kitchen. You have probably heard this saying before. This is a must-follow gender norm example of traditional gender roles. From a young age, girls are taught that it is their responsibility to learn how to cook for their future families. A woman who cannot cook will find that a part of society is quickly going to look down at her. Let's take another example. Children. Children, since they are born, actually before borning, parents choose the color of their room, the color of their clothes. In general, we associate blue with boys and pink with girls. Nothing bad, right? But later on, if you are a serious person, if you want to go to an interview, or if you want to go in a conference, in a high-level conference, you don't wear pink, right? You will wear blue or a serious color. Pink, it is considered as a girly color. And when they are little child, the girl are oriented toward the pink color, pink dresses, pink toys, pink room, everything. So nothing bad if this is not associated with a sense of power, because you see in the next image, the boys already learn since they are a child to understand their power, to understand that they have more power, so more right to aggress a girl. It could be a joke at the beginning, or worse, it could be a model from the family. If a child assisted to a domestic violence episode in their family, he considers that it's normal to aggress a woman. So when he will go in the school, he will aggress a girl as well. And he will not consider this something bad. So childhood, talking about childhood behavior, this is another role, traditional role. Boys play outside, girls play with dolls. Let's go forward to the next slide. Still in the family, you see toys for, let me admit somebody else, okay? Toys for girls and toys for boys. If you take a look, we have, first of all, we have pink toys for girls, pink or red. We have a doll, we have, what we have here, sanitary instrument, a caregiver for children tool, a small kitchen, and a mirror. So what about boys? They have a motorcycle, car, army car, an helicopter, and a gun. If you make a parallel between the toys for girls and for boys, it's easy to understand that girls are oriented to the private space, while the boys, are oriented to the public space, because in the private space you take care of children, you cook, you make your beauty ritual, but the man they are learned since the beginning to conquer the public space, to conquer the with cars, to have the courage, to have the power to drive a car, to drive a motor car, to drive a helicopter, to their imagination. It is developed in the direction of conquering not only the private space around the house, around the city, but also to fly. Moreover, the gun show exactly that they are oriented to understand and to use their power. Gender roles are instilled in a very young age. Even children have gender roles forced upon them. Boys are expected to play sports and to do well in school. If either of these criteria aren't met, that little child will be a target for bullying. On the other hand, little girls are expected to stay indoors and partake in the household activities such as cooking and cleaning. Well, this is just one example of traditional gender roles that is enforced on children. It instills the idea of segregation at a very young age and forces children into a particular lifestyle. That's why even today, adverts for dolls and dolls' houses or cooking place sets are still targeted at little girls and boys, are asked to buy the shields, guns, and those action figure. Dressing. Another topic related to gender roles. Women wear skirts, men wear pants. For centuries, women were not allowed to wear pants. It was a real revolution when women began to wear pants. What this does do is create a sense of righteousness within people who do believe in this particular gender role. There is no denying the fact that women have taken to wearing trousers these days, but men haven't taken to skirt yet. So gender norms still exist, isn't it? This is also a way to understand that women are women feel their restriction and they want to go forward and to take to show that they can do the same as men can do. Let's go forward. Oh, this is another interesting topic, the fairy tales. I don't know how is in your culture, but in European culture, we have some stories like Cinderella, like white how is it called? White Snow. These stories show the place of women. What happened in general in these fairy tales? There is a king. This king has a girl. The girl is teenager, and it's time to marry her. And the king launch a competition between young people, young men, and he said that who will win the competition will have the girl and half of the palace. Which this is the first inadequate behavior, because you see, first of all, he says that the girl doesn't, the value of the girl is not a value by itself, herself. She is it is a package. You take the girl and half of the palace, right? Secondly, nobody asks the girl if she wants that man who won the competition. And third, it is a deal between two men. A man, the property. Girl is a property. She is a property of her father at the beginning, and then she becomes the property of the new husband, and her desire, her option is nowhere. Nobody asks her if she wants to become the wife of the chosen man. So also, I don't know how is your culture, but in my culture, in general, women take the name of the husband, the family name, which is another injustice, because is a sense of belonging. First, you belong to your father, then you belong to another man. You become the property of another man. Moreover, this creates a lot of administrative problems, because if you get divorced, you have to change the name, you have to change all the documents, but also creates a kind of how to tell, a problem of identity, a kind of I don't remember the exactly word, but you understand that your identity suffer a change. You are not the same. I am Aurora Popescu, and I became Aurora Martin. I am somebody else. I have to, it takes a mental process for me to understand, to accept my new name first, and then to tell everybody, to change all the document and to tell everybody that I am a new person with another identity, because I belong to somebody else. This creates a lot of problems also in documents, but for social framework, this is a sign that that woman belongs to somebody, and you can't touch her anymore. Also, the man has the power to use the women, because if they receive it as a gift, in fairy tale, I mean, that means that I can do whatever I want with the girl, right? So it's a sign in the fairy tales, children receive the information. It's subsidiary information that the men have the power to choose, and the women have not the power to react. The men have an active role in society. The women have a passive role in society. I mean, in creating a family. The man choose, the woman is chosen. So this, it looks like they are fairy tales. They are not dangerous, but you see, they are already promoting stereotypes. And children are growing up in these stereotypes, this normality, let's say normality. That's why the school is so important, because during the educational process, you can increase or decrease the level of stereotypes. This depends of education, of public policies in education. This depends of manuals. If you take a look in this image, you can see in the left side is a train, a man and a boy. They are outside somewhere in the nature, and they are they look like they have a lazy time, a pleasant time together outside. On the right side, you have a mother supporting the child to make the homeworks. Also, you have a mother taking care of a newborn child. You have two ladies talking in the house, and also the mother cooking. So it's clear how the space is defined: the public space for men and private space, house, home, for women. Also, there are stereotypes that they begin to be learned since the early age. Education can be a major obstacle to achieving equal opportunities in the labor market, for example. Thus, the lack of education or lack of preparation for certain areas limits equal opportunities. Career choices are made in many cases based on gender roles, according to which men are more suitable for technical professions and women for professions that involve caring for each other and communication, because communicating with children, they are considered to have more communication skills. As a result, women are more represented in areas such as health, education, services, while men are much more represented in engineering, technical, or information technology. To make an observation, again, I don't know how is it in India, but in Romania, the domain of education and health domain, they are less paid. They are not so well paid. And if you think further, in this domain, there are more women. It is a feminized domain. In the hospitals, it is true that there are also doctors, men, but there are also many women. And if you think about the segregation, at the high level of doctors, of hospital directors, they are men, and at the level of assistants, of medical assistants, of nurses, of usual personnel, they are more men. In education field also, for many years at the level of leading positions, they were men. Mr. Director. Actually, in Romanian, we have director, which is a masculine word. We have also feminine word, but usually people use Miss Director. They still use the same word also for a woman when she arrives in a leading position. So the mental scheme is so deep inside the mental patriarchal model is so deep in the collective mindset that it is very difficult to accept the change. The consequence of the professional choices is found in the income level also, women focusing on lower paid areas. Thus, the difference in income between women and men are explained not only by discrimination in the labor market in terms of pay, but also by individual choices about the profession. Okay, how long time I have? I forgot to take a look to the time. I hope I'm still in time, right?
Yes, ma'am, still you have time. You
Okay, okay. Another area where stereotypes are gender role and stereotypes are obvious is mass media. You see how a man looks like and how a woman looks like in media for selling the products, the journals, the how to say the blogs, the internet information. In general, a man is like in this image in a suit, in a very official suit, and he's also sexy and attracting, but also professional. A woman is half undressed, showing as much as possible for being attractive. Also, if you watch in television serious talk show about politics, about international relations, they are invited men to talk about important heavy topics. When they are women, in general, they talk about fashion, about free time, about cooking. So not very heavy topics. Also, when it's about when journalists invite a man and or a woman for a talk show, when it's a man, they are more oriented to ask about professional life or about sport hobbies. But if it's a woman, it's mandatory to have questions about children, about how they deal with householding, with combining professional life with personal life, about private space and public space. So I also spoke with journalists, and they were telling that the questions come automatically from their mind when it's about a woman guest in the studio. Why all of this? Because you see, we have everything in gender roles and gender stereotypes. They are already there in the patriarchal model. On the screen, you have some gender stereotypes related to women. It's clear that when you talk about a woman, you think about all these characteristics: sensitive, delicate, emotional, good housewife, subjective, talkative, chatty, sometimes intellectually limited, with artistic sense, dependent to somebody. In general, we say that she's not able to take care of herself. When it's about a man, the register of adjectives changed. A man is brave, daring, good emotions, controllers, with a sense of orientation. You know that there is the typical stereotype that women are not good drivers, even though I can tell you that the women are even better drivers, because they are the attention is extended, because women give birth. Giving birth, they protect lives. So they don't have that okay. So they don't have that sense of terribilis to show, look how important I am, but they are more focused on protecting the life, her life, and the other lives around her. Another adjective for man: good leaders, competition. I told you about fairy tale when they compete for taking a wife. Financially independent, adventurous. You recognize all these characteristics, right? So stereotypes are generalization that we project onto a person based on their belonging to a group. Starting from gender roles, stereotypes create and influence the image of the right employee, playing a role both in the recruitment process and in employment relationship. Judgment about status of power are also associated with gender stereotypes. Those who occupy higher position in the social hierarchy are expected to have specifically masculine traits, while those with a lower status are believed to have feminine traits. Consequently, men are seen as more suitable for leadership positions than women. Women are still poorly represented in political and economic decision-making positions, although the number of people in such positions has increased in the last decade. The next slide. Okay. So you see how stereotypes are adequate professions, gender roles in private and professional life. In the working area, men another stereotype, gender role is men work outside, women at home. We all know that traditional gender roles dictate that a man should be the one working while the woman stay home. This is one of the most important male gender roles. What you probably don't know is that gender stereotypes also affect what profession someone can join with ease. When it comes to traditional gender roles affecting professional lives, women tend to get job easier in the nursing or hospital industry or in hotels because of their perceived sensitivity. On the other hand, it is far easier for men to start their careers in the field of IT, technology, because they are considered to have more analytical skills. This is just one tiny example of how traditional gender roles still impact a person's daily life. Okay, the concept of successful man and successful women is different. In general, a successful man is defined in a public space according his competencies in his workplace, and a successful woman is a woman who deal to combine family life with profession. There are many gender inequalities in the labor market. One of them is this glass ceiling. What does it mean? I shall tell you immediately because I have a specific image to exemplify. In this field, in this aspect, I shall talk a little bit about salary discrimination between men and women, about mobbing and discrimination of pregnant women or single mother or single women. Look at the difference between women and men in the area of in the work field. You see, in general, men are leaders because for centuries, women were occupying the private space and men the public space. That's why it was easier for men to have leading positions. You know how difficult it was for women to become doctors, to go to university, to study to university. You are lucky today because you all have the right to study in university. But if you look back in history, you will see the struggle of many women to go to university. On the right side, you have the salary difference between a man and a woman. Many countries still maintain this difference between the salary of a man and a woman. For every dollar won by a man, a woman for the same work will won 0.75 cents. This is another specific image about how children starts by being equal. You see, they have the same right to education, but something is happening on the way because they don't reach the same level. You see, the scale, the man's scale is longer. The woman scale it's shorter. Why this? Simple, because many of women after getting married, they prefer to stay home, to not to go to work, or if they work and they have children, they they have to stay home to raise children and then to continue their work. But just think about this time while the ladies stay home to raise children, the men continue to advance in their profession. So that's why at the end, the road of the women is shorter. Another aspect regarding the table of decisions, where usually they are men because they are in the leading position, and you see this is a glass ceiling. The glass ceiling under the actually in the left side, there are these two images are part of the same story. The women are at the bottom of society, at the top of society, where is a decision makers place. They are men. Where is the decision makers place, there are also the money, there is also the power. That's why women were kept for many years under this glass ceiling. To see the consequences of this glass ceiling, you see this picture where the population is quite 50-50. Actually, women are 51%. And the labor force, you see that the level of women decrease. In the red is representing the women. When it's about the managers, The level of women is even it's somebody talking.
I request Arnob Roy to please mute yourself. I request Arnob Roy to mute yourself. Please mute yourself, everyone.
Okay, so at the level, thank you. At the level of managers, we have even more, less women. At the level of executive level, you see that continue to decrease. When it's about board directors, the percentage is even lower. At the level of CEOs, only less than 10%. And chairs also less than 10%. So this is the consequence. This is you see the image in the left side showing this discrepancy. What I would like to tell you, you see here a new concept, discrimination. So we had gender roles, we had stereotypes, we had prejudged and discrimination, which is the connection between these concepts. Stereotypes are a mental construct. We know that Gypsy in my society are not so well seen. You know, each society has another. Who is another in your society? In my society, the other is they are Gypsy. So this is mental information that comes from the collective thinking. This goes forward to prejudge. Which is a prejudge? If I am in front of a Gypsy, I try to protect myself because I know that stereotypes they are dirty, they are stealing. So I apply immediately the stereotypes on the person in front of me. This is prejudge. And the step forward is discrimination. If I have in front of me a Romanian and a Gypsy, and I have to hire them in my office, I shall choose the Romanian. Why? Because I know that the Gypsy is, I can trust the Gypsy. So this is a process between a concept, mental concept, stereotype, and prejudices that I'm afraid of, and action, discrimination in the action between mental, feeling, and action. Another category discriminate is the category of single women or single mothers or pregnant women. Sorry, I had to connect my my computer because the battery is low. Okay, so many times a pregnant woman is discriminated because the boss considers that she is not so useful for his or her business. Many times a woman was hired before giving birth, which is a capital discrimination. So if you you can see Stereotypes, gender roles and stereotypes and prejudge they have consequences at the social level, political level, economic level, and educational level. Actually, starting from educational level, they influence economic, social, and political level, and the consequences affect the entire society. A society practicing discrimination is not a healthy a healthy society. What can we do to achieve the equal opportunity, to accomplish the equal opportunity? We have to promote a private life partnership. Then we have to work with our children, with our friends, with our partner, with our relatives, to try to change mentality, to try to explain, to try to change something around us. Then we have to change the norms and institution promoting gender equality and gender education. The education is capital, because through education we build the new generation, and if we build the generation, we raise the generation is the same frame of promoting stereotypes and prejudice and discrimination, we can have a different result. We have to promote and impose gender equality in the employment, and to promote public policies at all levels, in all ministries in society. And of course, it's very important to have a gender balance in leading position. And why not? We can think about what happened last year in Finland. And look what happened. The Finland's new government, it's young and led by women. And Finland, it's one of the countries with a very, very high level of well-being. So I will stop here. Think about all this information, and try to find a way to change something around you. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Arura Martin ma'am, for such a stimulating lecture. And basically, you have emphasized on the gender roles in various aspects, and emphasizing on the patriarchal imbalances, discrimination in mental concept of stereotypes as such. And with that, you have emphasized with different strategies too. So through different kind of fairy tales, and yes, changes do start from within. And imperfection is perfection. So we are actually grateful to you, ma'am, for the time and effort that you have made to share your thought with all of us, and with such a powerful presentation. So I personally have been benefited from you, from your past lectures. So I hope that after today, those who are participating, those who are attending, they also will be benefited, especially to the student community. They will be very much benefited. So now I will be taking up some of the question which has come to our chat box, but in between, I would like to say that I have lost my connection in between. So I might not read all the question, but those who, I think, Amit, you can help me out. I can see some of the questions, but not all, because my connection was lost in between. I can see the question from Arnob Roy. He has written that, ma'am, I think women empowerment is the only way by which women can avoid gender discrimination. What do you think?
Well, it's a good point of view. But I think that not only women empowerment, It's a way to, it is a very important point, but also we need also the man involvement. We need the men around us to understand that they are somebody's, they are a mother's son. And if a mother will raise a man in the respect for women, for girls, that man will contribute to combating, to promoting equality, into combating discrimination. So we both, not only women, because many times when I go to conferences regarding topics around gender issue, I see a lot of women. This is not a topic only for women. This is a topic to men, for men as well, because they have to understand that they have to protect women. They have to support women, not only to protect, because if I say protection, they think about I give some money and I protect her and I can do whatever I want. No, they have to support them to fulfill their personality, to fulfill their role in society, their profession, to be happy, to be satisfied, to be respected, to feel respected. They don't have to promote domestic violence. On the street, if you see somebody attacking a woman or talking bad about a woman, a man has to find the power to intervene.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. There is another question from Bhumika. Do girls face more societal pressure than guys? I mean, boys, not guys. It will be boys. Do girls face more societal pressure than boys?
Yes, because there are more expectation from women. They are expected to fulfill their role in family, but also to be professional. So for the men, we have the same expectation to be professional in public sphere, but the women perception was changed from the private sphere when where she was placed for so many years into the public sphere, but going from the private sphere to public sphere, nobody took care from the public sphere. It was additional duty. That's why it's more pressure on women.
There is another question from Shubhranshu Ghosh. Ma'am, in many countries like India, not only men, but even the women within the family are seen promoting such cases of inequality. Why does it happen that they promote such biasness when they themselves have been victims of same kinds of biasness in the past?
Yes, it's very simple, because it's a generational spiral of violence. If I was a child and I saw my parents fighting, and I saw my mother becoming a victim of violence, I shall take this model and I shall apply it in my life. Because when until 7 years, a child will, you can say everything to a child. He will take what he sees, what he feels. He will take the model from the family and he will apply it later on in his family. That's why it's so important to act at the level of the family.
There is a question from Shama Parveen. Do you believe that there are any gender roles that people should be taught to follow instead of breaking the women stereotype? How to break the men stereotype to help the society's outlook or perception in a constructive way?
First of all, by education. Secondly, I strongly recommend to take care of boys and men, because we know what we need. We know that we need recognition, we need respect, we need space to show our personality exactly like men, but they don't know what we need. They know many men, they have a model in their family, and they don't understand why the model should be changed, because it's comfortable. I go to work, I come home. At home, I find everything in the kitchen. Children are in good health, in good care. Why should I change this model? They can't understand. Probably they can understand, but nobody tried to teach them that the basic respect for the need for a woman needs. And when you have an equilibrium, a balance between the professional satisfaction of women and professional satisfaction on men, it's easier to find satisfaction in the family as well.
There is another question from Deba Nanda. Is gender equality a concern for only men? What do you think?
Gender equality a concern?
Only for men?
For traditional men, yes, it is a concern, because they lose some comfort. They have to escape that comfort zone, and to try to help a woman in the kitchen, to try to forget about what the friend says, that what do? You help your wife. Oh, this is not good. This is not. You have to be a man to have to have power in the house. So it is a challenge for a man, but the satisfactions after that, there are bigger, and also the effects are more important, because if a child of a family will see the father will see the father helping the mother in the kitchen, for example, he will understand that this is a normal framework. This is a normal space for raising a healthy family, healthy family for the future, and healthy children. And in this way, easy a society could be changed. Also in school, the education is very, very important.
Okay, ma'am. There are so many other questions also, but we have a kind of a time restriction, and the next speaker is also waiting. So I would like to thank you, ma'am, for again and again for patiently, answering, addressing all the answers and the questions. And because I know like how much flexible you are, but still taking out time from your busy schedule and in such a short notice, enlightening us with your valuable lecture, it really means a lot to us. So thank you very much once again, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And if you can copy the question and you can send it to me, I shall try to send the answer.
I will definitely do that, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for your interest, and thank you for your cooperation. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now,
thank you, ma'am.
So now I would like to call our next esteemed honorable speaker of the day, Dr. Sujit Datta. Now, before I hand over the screen to sir, let me introduce him to all. Dr. Sujit Datta is an associate professor in the Department of International Relations at Chittagong University, Bangladesh. Dr. Datta did his PhD from the School of Political Science and Public Administration at Shandong University, China. He had worked at the BRAC Training Division, BTD, as a faculty member, and Dr. Datta has also authored several articles and book chapters on different renowned national and international peer-reviewed journals. He has presented several research papers in the international seminars and conferences in China, India, Malaysia, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh too. Now, in the COVID-19 pandemic situation in this period, he had attended several kind of international webinar as a resource person in several countries. And he wrote a book. The name of the book is Belt and Road, Country Overview, Bangladesh Volume, along with Professor Zhang Shilang in 2019 from the Dalian University Press, China. Now, with that, he is now involved in different research projects granted by home as well as abroad. Now, now I would request you, sir, to deliver your lecture, and the topic on which Sujit sir is going to emphasize is on gender sensitization and sustainable development in Bangladesh, the implications of the global policy. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, thank you very much, the organizers, especially Dr. Amrita Banerjee, to invite me here as a speaker. And thanks to my other speaker, like Dr. Arura Martin and Dr. Sneha, for their valuable and outstanding space about different type of gender issues. So again, thanks to Internal Quality Assurance Style, IQAC, Bidhan Chandra College, Asansol, India, to select a nice topic related with the gender, which is very much important in the 21st century's international politics. So today's I will present the gender sensitization and sustainable development in Bangladesh and the implications of global policy. And this is Dr. Sujit Datta. I'm Associate Professor, Department of International Relations, University of Chittagong, Bangladesh. And I divided my presentation outlines in the 5 parts. And first, I will discuss what is the gender sensitizations. Before my presentation, the other 2 speakers already discussed what is gender, what the difference between the gender and sex. So I think all understands what is gender. And the second part, I discussed the gender sensitizations and women empowerment. And third part is gender sensitization status in Bangladesh. And fourth is gender sensitization and sustainable development, how the gender sensitization and sustainable developments are interlinked to each other. And finally, I'll just discover the gender sensitizations and implications of global policy in Bangladesh. So let's start the first slide of gender sensitizations. So how can we define gender sensitizations is more important. So gender sensitizations refers to theories which claim that modification of the behavior of teachers and parents and others related within society towards children can have a causal effect on gender equality. So gender sensitization is totally related to the gender equality. And this kind of gender equality is totally depend on equity. And equity, of course, equity should be on the basis of need, should be on the basis of responsibility, should be on the basis of equal access of all kind of men and women, should be equal on the basis of fairness. The aim of the gender sensitizations is to make people aware of power relations between men and women in the society, and to understand of importance giving women and men equally opportunity and treatment. So it's more important. So gender sensitizations to make the people actually equal, men and women equally opportunities and treatment in the society. So what are the in the specific aim to behave in a manner which is sensitive to the gender justice. So gender justice is more important to equal opportunities for men and women. So we should understand the gender justice, the against sexual harassment in the school, institutions, and the society. So gender sensitizations may be reduce the sexual harassment in the school, in the institutions, and in the society as well as. So to sensitize the newly induced members regarding prevent gender inequality in the society. If you gender sensitized, you may reduce and or prevent the gender inequality in your society, in your family, in your institutions, in the college, universities, or any other place. So to reduce on the status of women and impact of development of the society. So it's actually gender sensitizations always reduce the status of women and impact of development of the society. So in the case of developments, how can we define development? Development is a continuous process actually, which change the society positively. So in the development process, we should include men and women both. Without support of women, the holistic development process must be impossible. So I'll just quote to quotes from the great person of Mahatma Gandhi and the Kofi Annan. So in the case of gender, in the case of gender equality, in the case of gender sensitizations, Mahatma Gandhi told, quote, as young men who make a dowry a condition to marriage, discredit to his education and his country and dishonor womanhood. And Kofi Annan told, gender equality is more than a goal in itself. It is a precondition of meeting challenge of reducing poverty, promoting sustainable development, and building good governance. And three important issues: poverty, sustainable development goal, and good governance. Poverty is related with the lack of access to any kinds of benefits, lack of access to any kinds of facilities. And sustainable development must be developed something which may sustain for the future generations. And this sustainable development must focus in the two generations, the present and the future. And good governance, there must be a good governance, accountability, transparency, a lot of things to make a good governance. So both of great persons like Mahatma Gandhi and Kofi Annan told about the gender equality, which is related with the gender sensitizations. So how can we create gender sensitizations in our society, in our family, and in our institutions? So firstly, clearly explain the meaning of the gender. And in our society, many persons actually don't know what is the gender. Maximum of the people thinks gender is related with the women, but not. Gender is the social constructive ideas. This idea may change place to place, country to country, but gender and sex is totally different things. Sex is the biological difference between women and men. So we should firstly clearly explain the meaning of gender to the general people, to the students, that they can understand what is the gender, and develop gender literacy among teachers, parents, and the students. So we should literate the students, teachers, parents, in the society, in the family, and as well as the institutions to understand the real meaning of gender, understand gender relations and gender issues in the classroom, institution, and society. So we should understand the gender relations and different gender issues in the classroom, institutions, and society. Explain the role of school, institutions, and society in promoting gender equality. So if you want to promote the gender equality, we should explain the real meaning of the gender in the school, in the family, in the society, in the institutions. Develop positive approach towards gender. It totally depends on the man's. And we should positively approach the gender, the real meaning of gender, to the society's peoples, to the institutions, to make the young boys and girls gender sensitive and create positive values that support the girls and their rights. We should make the young boys and girls to make gender sensitive, and which they create the positive values that support the girls' right. and to provide an integrated and interdisciplinary approach to understand the social and cultural constructions of gender that shape the experience of women and men in the society, to generate the awareness in regard the equality of law, social systems, and democratic activities. By this way, we can create gender sensitizations in our family, in our society, in our institutions. So, importance of gender sensitizations. What are the importance actually? So, gender inequality causes poverty. So, first of all, we should understand what is poverty. In the social science, poverty is a lack of access to any kind of facilities. But before this century, in the 19th, 18th century, poverty is related with the economic development, economic access. But now, we're now living in the 21st century's politics. We're now going to achieve the sustainable development goals. So poverty is not related to the only economic sides. Lack of access to any kinds of benefits, any kind of facilities, it may relate to the economical, it may relate to the political, it may relate to the social. All are related to the poverty. So gender inequality causes more poverty. Gender inequality is barrier to sustainable development. I already discussed sustainable development referred to the develop the two generations. One is present, is future generations. So gender equality is one of the most important barrier to achieve the sustainable development goals. So generate respect for individual irrespective of sex. So we should clearly identify what is the sex and what is the gender, because first of all we should know what is the meaning of the gender and what is the difference between sex and gender. Then we can actually respect the irrespective of sex. Management must sensitize employees for gender sensitivity to prevent or minimize. All the management must sensitize the employees or students or the peoples of the society above for the gender sensitivity to prevent or minimize the gender sensitizations or gender inequality in the society. Ensure that for all management purpose, men and women are gifted with the ability to work with persistence. So these are the importance of gender sensitizations in our society, in our family, as well as in our country too. So gender sensitizations and women empowerment, how these two ideas are interlinked. Really, it's totally interlinked. Gender sensitizations create the women empowerment in our society. Women empowerment is a dynamic process which is difficult to describe in a nutshell. It can be described in various ways like economic interdependence, social transformation, self-reliance, the power of decision making, knowledge improvement, demanding equality and control over resources, and so forth. So the empowerment is the ability of person to control material, human, and intellectual resources. This kind of resources can be divided into 5 main categories. I divided this kind of resources to empower in the 5 categories. These are the material resources, human resources, intellectual resources, financial resources, and social resources. So in the case of material resources, land, water, and forest are the main ideas of the material resources. In the case of human resources, man, his body, labor, and skill. In the case of intellectual resources, knowledge, information, experience, and ideas. Financial resources, money, access to the financial resources. And social resources are related with the social relations, values, traditions, culture, beliefs, and mutual trust. So these are the empowerment process may be encouraged in the society, in the family, as well as in the country. So gender sensitizations in Bangladesh. So in the case of Bangladesh, gender sensitizations process are very slow So Bangladesh social systems make it comfortable to see women as an idle, gentle, polite, humble, husbandly housewife. Besides, the prevailing notions about women in this society where it is changing now, but the society where women will be the love of the house, women will be the beauty of the house, women will be the soft, gentle, tolerant, and husband-friendly. Women will be the surrendered to her husband and family wishes. So actually, there was no decision-making process in women in our society before this century. But nowadays, these ideas are changing in our society. We're just changing our society. Now, women are empowering their society in the family, in the institutions, as well as in the world, in our country. So, gender equality and Bangladesh constitutions. What are written actually in the Bangladesh constitutions about the gender equality? So government of Bangladesh has therefore recognized in the national constitutions the need for education, reductions of gender discriminations, inequality between men and women, and promotion of women participation in every sphere of national life. The Constitution of Bangladesh has provided very progressive and gender-friendly governance institutions for all Bangladeshi in general and for women in particular. The Constitution provisions in Article 19.3, 28.1, 28.2, 28.3, 29.1, 29.2, and 65.1, which cover all aspects of equal rights of women with men in state and public life. Equal opportunity for all citizens, irrespective of men and women, are fundamental principles to adopt democratic principle of gender equality and human dignity of men and women. So, in our constitution actually focuses on the gender equality, and the main ideas of gender equality in our constitutions are the state shall attempt to ensure equality of opportunity to all citizens. There will be no discriminations on the ground of race, on the ground of religions, on the ground of gender. So states shall attempt to ensure equal opportunity to all citizens. The states shall adopt effective measures to remove social and economic inequality between men and women and to ensure the equitable distributions of wealth among citizens and of opportunities in order to attain a uniform level of economic development throughout the republic. The states shall attempt to ensure equality of opportunity and participation of women in all spheres of our national life. So these are the main ideas of our national constitutions, which allow to our gender equality. So, present status of women empowerment in Bangladesh. We know the father of the nations, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was the pioneer of Bengali women's empowerment in Bangladesh. After Bangladesh became independent, the constitutions of People's Republic of Bangladesh guaranteed equal rights for women at all stages of state and public life, and added powers to make special provisions for development of women. Following the model of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, present Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has formulated numerous policies and laws to ensure gender equality, women development, and empowerment at all levels since she came to power, and has worked tirelessly to ensure that it is truly integrated and implemented at all levels. For these reasons, National Women Development Policy 2011 of Bangladesh provides a full framework for women in Bangladesh to progress. So our National Women Development Policy actually is developed in 2011. Actually, it's provide a full framework of women development and its progress in Bangladesh. The political empowerment of women in Bangladesh is remarkable. The government and political parties are much helping in political policy and women inclusion in the National Assembly. For this political policy, reserved seats have been reserved for women in the National Assembly and local government in Bangladesh. In the present parliament, the Honorable Prime Minister, Speaker, the leader of the opposition, and many ministers are women. Out of 300 seats in the National Assembly, 50 seats have been reserved for women. One of the two vice chairmen of the Upajala Parishad must be a woman. One of the 3 seats of Union Parishad, municipality and city corporations are reserved for women. According to the representations of People's Order, PRO of Bangladesh, 33% of each political party's representative must be women. This policy actually makes the women's empowerment in Bangladesh, and it is remarkable nowadays. So, National Women's Development Policy 2011, I'm now discussing about the National Women's Development Policy. So, National Women's Development Policy 2011 of Bangladesh provides a full framework for women in Bangladesh to progress. The purpose of this policy is to establish equal rights for men and women, among other things. So this kind of national development policy, women development policy, actually works to establish equal rights for men and women, among the other things in our society, in our country. So this policy try to ensure the safety and safe life for women in all the sphere of the life, in the family, in the society, in the job place too. This kind of development policy want to ensure women empowerment, political, administrative, and legal delegalizations to make women educated and efficient human resources, to free women from the poverty, taking steps to ensure women health and institutions, priority for women in the field of suitable shelter and accommodations, the reintegrations of women who have suffered from natural disasters and conflicts, providing comprehensive support for women with disabilities and minorities and ethnic groups in the country to ensure rights of women, the protection of widows, elderly, abandoned, single and unborn women, and providing the necessary support for women development. So the national development policy actually helps to develop the women rights to all the kinds of things, to ensure the safety and safety life for women, the free women from poverty, everything. Actually it's a full framework to develop the women. So women empowerment versus sustainable development. I already discussed the women empowerment and the definition of sustainable development. So sustainable development actually relates with the 2-generation development. The development must be enjoyed at least 2 generations, the present generations and for the future generations. So we know we're now struggling, we're now fighting to achieve the sustainable development goals by 2030. The 5th goal of sustainable development is to focus on ensuring gender equality. So there are 18 goals in sustainable development. So the 5th goals of the SDGs is totally ensuring, focus on the ensuring gender equality. The point to the note here is that inequality that creates inequality between men and women in much stronger than it is in many ways. Every goal of SDG is poverty alleviation, hunger eradication, health, equality, education, clean water and sanitation, quality work for all, the innovation of industry and construction for improved infrastructure, responsible use of global resource, climate change and prevention. Sea protections are directly or indirectly related to each gender equality of partnership for sustainable development. The main ideas of SDGs 5th goals are: number 1, to eliminate all discriminations against women and girls in all cases. The fifth goal of SDGs want to eliminate all discriminations against women and men in all cases in the whole world. So prevent violence against all women and girls in public and private life, including trafficking, sexual abuse, and all forms of abuse. Third one, recognitions and evaluations of services and health and participation in domestic and family responsibility can be ensured through the government service. Delivered infrastructure and measures included in the social security policy as appropriate in the context of their respective countries. Number 4, child marriage and evaluate of the things. Actually, evaluate all forms of harmful practices, including force of marriage and female genital mutilations. So ensuring full effective of participations and equal opportunity for women to lead in political, economic, and public life decision-making process at all levels. So the fifth goals want to ensure full effective participations in the case of decision-making process at the family level, at the institution level, as well as the country level. So action plan of international conference on populations and development to ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health rights in the light of the harmony reached in review of meeting in the implementations of Beijing Action Plan in 1995. Reform the law to establish women's rights to economic resource by national law and establish ownership and control of land and various financial services, inheritance, and natural resources. So, and the number 8 is increase the use of women-friendly technology, especially information and communication technology, to accelerate women's employment. And number 9, ensuring the support of appropriate policies and enforceable legislations to establish equals and empowerment of all women and girls at all levels. These are the main ideas of 5th goals of Sustainable Development Goals, and which we are fighting now achieved by 2030. So implications of global policy in the case of Bangladesh. Since the independence of Bangladesh, several steps have been taken for the developments of the women society in Bangladesh. And the first, the Third World Conference on Women at Nairobi, Kenya in 1985, the Fourth World Conference of Women in Beijing 1995, the world leaders universally adopted the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Actions, and which may empower the women, and our National Women's Policy 2011 is actually developed by the Beijing Declarations and Platform for Actions roles. So Millennium Development Goals, we start from the 2000, and we already achieved the Millennium Development Goals objectives by 2015. After that, we are now fighting to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Before, there is a Istanbul Action Plan, and started from 2011 and finished in 2020. So, issues of women sensitizations in Bangladesh. What are the main issues, especially women sensitizations in Bangladesh? So in the case of Bangladesh, number 1, the government has enacted numerous policies over the first decade focused on women's rights in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh government already focuses many policies to empower the women. So the Ministry of Women and Children Affairs has increased allowances for widows, alleviated the burden of breastfeeding mothers in urban areas, and provided job training in the fields such as agriculture and electronics. The National Women Development Policy of 2011 aimed to establish equal rights for men and women, but also included specific goals such as assistance for female entrepreneur to oversee the implementations of a development policy. The government formed a 50-member National Women and Child Development Council chaired by our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has also vocally supported women's empowerment in global forums such as UN and other institutions. So the man still dominates the country's political systems. When improving in the case of women empowerment, in the case of gender sensitizations, but still man dominates the country's political systems. With Sheikh Hasina leading the country since 2009 and the main opposition party also being led by women, Bangladesh might appear to be a model of women's empowerment in politics. However, out of 350 seats in Bangladesh parliament, only 22 currently belonging to a direct elected female legislations, while 50 seats are reserved for women who are not directly elected. Female politicians and activists have described a culture of exclusions within the two main political parties, reinforced by male politicians who view their female colleagues as inferior. Still, the proportions of women in parliament has continued to rise over the first decade, and women hold seats in 12,000 in local political offices like Union Parishad, like municipal, like Upajala Parishad, etc. But still, we are now fighting empowerment in our National Assembly. Out of 250 seats, only 22 women elected directly. So it's very much actually barrier to political empowerment, political women empowerment in our country. So maternal mortality has dropped 60% since 2000. It's more important. This drop has been the result of effective investment in prenatal care. The government of Bangladesh and United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, the UN Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency has provided critical support by coordinating midwife training programs. Trained midwives improves a major risk factor for maternal mortality, which is the lack of healthcare access for pregnant women. More than half of Bengali women chose to give a birth at home, but the proportion of births in which trained health personnel are present has been growing and now make up more than half. So violence against women and child marriage remain major problems in Bangladesh. So two out of three married women in Bangladesh have experienced domestic violence in the different kinds of domestic violence at some point of their lifetime. Religious laws, directive customs such as marriage and symptoms of discriminations against women. Almost 60% of girls are married before their 18th birthday, and their husband families may abandon them if they are unable to bear children. Grassroots and international NGOs have attempts to change this status quo. For example, Girls Not Brides Bangladesh, in a partnership of 25 organizations that lobbies the government of Bangladesh and promotes advocacy. The government has answered by passing the Domestic Violence Prevention and Protection Act in 2010 and Child Marriage Restraint Act in 2017, but the result of this effort have yet to materialize. The government is trying to reduce this kind of violence against women in the house, but it's a belonging in our society. Number 5, civil society organizations have played a key role in improving women's rights in Bangladesh. So an example of non-profit that is supporting Bengali women in the South Murapara Underprivileged Women's Cooperative Society. This organization provides medical care of women in Cox's Bazar districts. The group's chairperson, Kulsuma Begum, escaped abused husbands at the age of 16 only and immediately set up to help pregnant women in disaster zones. Apart from domestic organizations like Begum's, international charities such as Save the Children and other organizations have made a large gain in infant health and early childhood education. The COVID-19 pandemic has actually exacerbated existing inequalities. So we're now facing a lot of problems belongs with the COVID-19 pandemics and intergency of evaluations by women's identified several factors that could erode women's rights in Bangladesh due to the pandemics. And in this pandemic time, there are several domestic violence occurs against the women. So in Bangladesh, due to the pandemics, including the lack of healthcare access, unequal care work burden, and lack of decisions making power in the pandemic responses. Experts also documented in the rise of gender-based violence during the initial shutdown, foiling a spike in calls to national trauma hotlines. Luckily, local organizations on the ground have organized cash for work activities for women, such as mask making, things like this. So, you know, in the Bangladesh's economy actually depends on our garments industry, and this garments industry's main workers are female. So, in this case of pandemic and other things, Bangladesh is still fighting to achieve the women empowerment in the several factors. Maybe our prime minister, opposition leader, speaker, and other ministers are female. But in the case of grassroots level in our society, in the case of mid-level of our administrations are still fighting to achieve the women empowerment. So in case of my concluding remarks, I want to say existing gender inequality is seen as one of the obstacles to building a hunger-free and self-reliant Bangladesh. We already achieved our Millennium Development Goals, and we are now fighting to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. That's why we need to actually ensure gender equality in our society. There is no way to achieve Sustainable Development Goals by keeping women down. So I already discussed development is a continuous process which change the society positively, and sustainable development must be covered 2 generations. So without female contributions, the holistic development process is totally impossible. So thinking of development without women is nothing but living a full of paradise. The progress of Bangladesh development has begun, and in order to sustain that development, equal participation of women in every field needs to be further enhanced. The full development of women is not possible without the participation of women in the decision-making process. Therefore, the present government has placed special emphasis on the political empowerment of women from the grassroots level. That is appreciable, but the real scenario that the grassroots levels or mid-levels, the political empowerment of women is not a remarkable progress. They are still struggling. Above all, it is possible to promote women in Bangladesh through the implementations of various policies and measures adopted by the United Nations. We're now fighting to ensure the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. And we already achieved the Millennium Development Goals by 2015. So we always welcome the EU and related any kind of projects, any kind of policies to ensure the women empowerment, to ensure the women equality. And this equality must be basis on the equity basis. And this equity must be on the basis of the need, must be on the basis of the responsibility, must be on the basis of the equal access, and must be on the basis of the equal fairness. So this kind of equal fairness, this kind of equal need, responsibility make the Bangladesh, the women empowerment in Bangladesh by 2030, and we'll hope the Bangladesh will achieve the sustainable development goals by 2030. And thank you very much to listen my lectures, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sujit sir, for such an excellent presentation with the PowerPoint, and it truly enlightened us all through. And in a very comprehensive way, you have shared the views, on how to create a kind of a gender sensitization, and the two idea of women empowerment, how it is linked with that of gender sensitizations. And you have also given a kind of a special reference by taking into account Bangladesh scenario in account of the gender sensitization. It definitely, it has raised a certain questions in our chat box. So I'm going to take up some of the questions. Like the first question is from Sama Parveen. Sama Parveen has written, is gender sensitization necessary in India? How do you differentiate the gender sensitization between the two countries, India and Bangladesh? This is the first question.
Okay. Actually, India is far developed rather than Bangladesh. We're now fighting to. In the case of, I already talked, and in the case of a higher level, the political level, the present Prime Minister, present leader of opposition, speaker, and the ministers are actually female. But in the grassroots level, we're now fighting to empower the women. But in the case of India, they are now actually far better position in rather than Bangladesh. In the case of grassroots level politicians, in the case of grassroots level women empowerment policy. So we just developed our national policy in 2011, and we're now focusing. Bangladesh is now focusing to empower the women by this policy, and we are now still fighting to reduce the gender violence, different kind of gender violence, domestic violence, and in our society. And during the pandemic scenario, I can see I just had a research on the gender violence in Bangladesh during the pandemic scenario. I have seen a lot of things and a lot of ideas. I think this scenario may be absent in the India, because in the grassroots level, India is far better than Bangladesh. So we're now fighting to achieve our women empowerment policy by the government. Thank you.
Okay, the next question, I don't know it's him or it's he or she, because the person has registered with no name. So it's like laws are there for gender equality and to safeguard women rights, but does hyper masculinity, which gets displayed in day-to-day life, like in workplace politics and in one home act, as a hindrance in implementation of these laws, thus affecting women empowerment or sustainable development? There is a question mark. Now, with that, there is another question. What needs to be done in the base level so that girls, women can be protected and empowered by the existing laws, and in the same time, female knows about these laws, which will give them confidence to come forward?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the nice questions. Actually, there are three terms actually: gender sensitizations, gender equality, and gender equity. So in the case of gender sensitizations, we should come from our family first. We should learn from our family. I can learn my boy, I can learn my brothers and fathers, and then to the society, and then the school, institutions, and the country. And one must think that the women should know about her rights. Without knowing her rights, she can fight for anything. So that's why I think I think in Bangladesh and other place, there are some laws or women-friendly law in our constitutions directly state that their state will not be give any discriminations on the basis of gender in the constitutions. But we're now facing gender discriminations in our country. But why? There is a law, but the implications is not fair. So implications start from our society, start from my family, start from our state. And that's why my previous speaker and Dr. Sneha and Dr. Martin told that education is more important to empower the women. If a woman may be educated, she may neglect his rights, his human rights. Then she can fight what can demand, what can dance. Then she can fight the equity of equal distributions of wealth, equity rights of wealth. That's why I always emphasize on the women educations, which may empower the women at all. Thank you.
Okay, there is also another question from Dr. Jamshed Ahmad. What do you think about role of religion in gender inequality and how we can reduce the effect of that?
Yes, nice questions. So in my presentations, I just told that religious beliefs, religious practice sometimes create gender balance in our society. You know, in Bangladesh, there are more than 90% are Muslims. So though our constitutions allowed not to discriminations on the ground of religions, but in the real scenario, we can see there are some discriminations on the ground of religions. To avoid this kind of discriminations, I focuses on the educations. Without educated, we never stop that kind of discriminations on the ground of religions. Only education can remove that kind of educations. So educated women is only solution to solve that kind of problem. Thank you.
I think there are so many questions. This is the last question which we can take because you know, it's already almost time. So the last question I'm taking, this one is from Arnab Roy. Sir, when we talk about gender equality, why we only talk about girls? Nowadays, lots of cases coming where boys are also discriminated. So what do you think? Government should make some specific rules for gender equality.
Oh, nice point. Nice point. Very nice point. You know, in Bangladesh government service, there is 10% quota. 10% quota for the women. But last 2 years ago, there is a movement against the quota services, and Bangladesh government already abolished the quota services, 10% quota. Why these quota systems? Because quota systems is for the empowerment for the women. But now in the present systems, in the case of higher educations, in the case of all the side, Bangladeshi Bangladeshi females are coming go. So in this case, of course, sometimes when these people's men and women have come to the 50-50, then we should abolish this type of quota. When the women are going the more side, then must be considered the men. So we shouldn't focus only the women, we shouldn't focus only the men. And I already told that. So development is a continued process which may change the society positively. And without the contributions of female or male, a holistic development process is totally impossible. So we should focus man and women simultaneously togetherness. But if any government of any country should more focuses on the female, and the female are increasingly developed and empowerment, then this government must focus on the male. I already get an example in Bangladesh. Bangladesh government already abolished this role of the 10% quota service in the Bangladesh government. So why? Because Bangladeshi women are now fighting with the male persons. They're not fighting directly. In the case of our National Assembly, there are 50 seats reserved for the women. Why? Because in our 300 seats, only 22 women passed in the directly elected, right? So there are 278 male. Actually, this is the male-dominated National Assembly. That's why we need a reserved seat for the women. When we can see the 150 female directly elected from our National Assembly, then Bangladesh government should stop the rule of the 50 seats of reserved seats. That's why I'm telling gender is not related with the female, gender is not related with the male. It's social constructive ideas. It may be changed place to place. In the case of Bangladesh, in the case of India, in the case of Romania, gender ideas are not same. So we should think gender is not related to the female. We should think gender is related to the male and female, both sides. That's why government should focus not only the female. Government should focus male and female both altogether. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for addressing all the questions in such a easy manner. You have explained it to each and every individual. So really, I'm thankful. I think we all are thankful to you. And again, I would like to, thank, because in a very short notice, you also accepted our invitations. And for it, we are actually thankful and glad and definitely fortunate. Okay, and I hope that in future too, we are going to get hold of your support in a full-fledged manner. So thank you very much. Now, before the curtain drop, let me invite our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Shomen Chakraborty, to convey the vote of thanks. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Shomen Chakraborty.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Amrita Banerjee. First of all, good afternoon, everybody who are present here. And it's a very nice webinar for us and as well as our student. So before going to giving the vote of thanks, I would like to inform or request my students, because students are the most powerful stream of our society. So if they are tried to make small changes in their neighbor societies, small scale changes, if they pay attentions and respects to their neighbor women, then it will be automatically change the whole society in large scale. So all the students who are present over here, I request you to take lesson from this webinar and please apply your concepts in your local neighborhood. And now I am going to my topic, that it is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank you all the dignitaries on behalf of the IQAC Vidhan Chandra College Asansol. I extend a warm welcome, and I would like to express my gratitude to all the esteemed delegates of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar successful. I extend my gratitude to our honorable speakers, Dr. Arura Martin, Dr. Sneha, and Dr. Sujit Datta, to take out time from their busy schedule and enlighten us with their valuable speech. A special thanks to Dr. Falguni Mukhopadhyay, Principal Vidhan Chandra College, for inspiring and providing immense support all time to arrange such type of webinars. I also thank to Dr. Gautam Mukherjee, one of our senior, for his hearty support. I extend my thanks to Dr. Amrita Banerjee for her high enthusiasm and active involvement to organize this webinar. I express my gratitude to Dr. Amit Banerjee, coordinator of this webinar. Actually, he is the most effective and silent worker of our team. Thank you, Amit. And last but not the least, I congratulate all the participants, including our students, for their active participation in this webinar. And finally, thanking everyone, and once again for making this webinar successful. Thank you.